Um, but I'm going to be honest with you. Okay. I'm going to be totally frank. Uh, I don't think we should be doing this session. Okay. Um, yeah, I don't think it's appropriate. I don't think we should be doing it. I really struggled with it. I didn't sleep last night about it. You know, someone reached out to me yesterday. I need you to bear with me. Okay. This is something that has to be said. I prayed about it a lot. Okay. It's probably going to piss people off. All right. And what I'm going to ask you to do is if it angers you, just seek to understand. Okay. Ask yourself why you're angry if you get upset and just seek to understand. Okay. So I don't care what your political affiliation is. Honestly, I don't care. Our community is open to all people. I'm going to tell you a story a few years ago after the George Floyd riots when critical race theory became like a big thing. Um, One of our major companies was a 8 million or 8 figure engagement adopted what we refer to as critical theory. Okay. And I'm very confident, okay, that every single person on this call has an opinion about critical theory. I have no doubt every person on this call has an opinion on critical theory. I could have a beer with all of you at a bar, and every single one of you is either going to be pro or against. Some of you might cop out and say, I don't really care. I don't get involved in that type of thing, you know, but the fact is you have an opinion. And I'll guarantee that at most, two of you have ever read anything about critical theory. At the absolute most. That all of you have an opinion, but at most, two of you have read anything about critical theory. Okay. So you would run the risk of having an opinion about something you don't know anything about. You have someone else's opinion. Right. And there are people in this world who are willing to kill other people for someone else's opinion. Right. It came to my attention last night. Someone reached out to me, two people, that there are members of the Industry 4 community who celebrated the death of Charlie Kirk publicly. It brought me to tears. It's bringing me to tears right now. And I don't know if it's anybody on this call. I asked them not to tell me who it is. I prayed about it. Okay, I prayed about it. I said, what am I supposed to do as the ostensible leader of a community? A leader I don't want to be, by the way. What am I supposed to do? So I shot a video on Instagram last night, which is where I have the fewest followers, and I just got it out. I just got it out. And I prayed about it last night, and I talked to my family and I talked to my kids, and a young man whose father passed away when he was 10, he called me last night. First time he's ever called me. We've gone to a couple of ball games together. And we get along, but I don't have a tight relationship with him. But he called me, 23-year-old young man, who exceptional young man, calls me and he says, I'm really struggling with this. I'm struggling that there are people I work with who are celebrating his death. There are people I work with who are going about their day as if nothing major happened. And I feel like something huge happened. And I'm really struggling with it. And you want to know what I told him? I told him the story I'm going to tell you guys in a minute, because I didn't know what else to say. They started adopting critical theory. And one of our really Christian engineers who was working with them, he said, we received an email today that said, if someone identifies themselves with their pronouns at the beginning of a meeting, you will be required to refer to them by those pronouns going forward. And they sent a slide saying you must refer to someone as their pronouns. And he said, and I don't want to get into any trouble. So I just need to know, should I look for someplace else to work? I don't want to be a problem, but I can't do that. I don't answer to the CEO. I answer to one person, my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And I think everyone should invite Jesus into their heart. And I love everyone. But that isn't truth. Just because people feel it's truth, it isn't truth. Just because people believe they're being kind doesn't mean they're being kind. And he said, should I quit? And I'm thinking in my head, no, you're exactly the person I want on my team. Not because you won't call someone by the pronouns they want you to call them by, but because you're thoughtful and you're seeking to understand. You're not throwing your hands up in the air and saying, fuck this. And you're being considerate and your heart is full. But your beliefs have buttressed up against someone else's policies. No, I want you on my team, brother. Here's our stance. I said, I'm not going to ask you to refer to someone by their preferred pronouns any more than I'm going to ask to refer to you as brother or sister in Christ. It is about mutual respect to one another. That's how I live my life. Ostensibly, all of you are here to learn something. There's a reason we do fellowship at the beginning of every mastermind session, because I'm going to be honest with you. Whether you all believe it or not, whether the community believes or not, this 30 to 40 minutes that we spend at the very beginning of every one of these sessions are the most 30 or 40 minutes of every session. Sometimes they go the way I imagine it in my head, and sometimes they don't. So here is something that must be said. This is something that must be said. And the reason I'm taking time for all of you who pay tuition to be here to teach this lesson, because if you're here to learn from me anything, what I'm going to teach you right now is how I live my life. And it's how I think everyone should make their decisions. I don't believe I live my life perfectly, but I seek to understand. I seek to understand people who think like me, people who don't think like me. Charlie Kirk was assassinated a couple of days ago. A man who dedicated his life to truth, to debate, to discord, to loving even the people he disagreed with. And if you don't believe that, then just like critical theory, you have never read a word he wrote, and you have never listened to an entire speech he ever gave. If you believe that Charlie Kirk hated, then it tells me everything I need to know about you, that you don't seek to understand. Charlie Kirk loved. And he put himself in harm's way in the pursuit of truth every single day. And the reason it hits home for me, I've been moved in ways I have not been moved in decades. My sons, my team. I cannot tell you the number of people who have said to me, am I going crazy? Why does this hit me so hard? Why does this hit me so hard? And the answer is because Charlie lived a life people strive for. Whether or not you agree with his politics is irrelevant. Every day we go through life walking and living among people who don't agree with us. That's part of what makes humanity beautiful. It's not, if you are in a room of people who agree, everyone agrees. Is that the most exciting room to be in? Is it the most fulfilling room to be in? Of course not. Charlie Kirk was killed because he read more and he studied more and he confronted more. He was killed because he couldn't be beaten in a debate. He was killed because the things he said made people feel uncomfortable. And had they just taken a moment to seek to understand, then their anger and hatred would have subsided. How do I know? How do I know that to be true? Why are we here? Why are we having this conversation? Because there are two, I got it wrong last night in my Instagram video. I said, oh, there's, 250,000 total people who follow us. It's wrong. It's 400,000. Just over 400,000 people, unique, all over the world. That's our audience. It's an enormous responsibility. And here we are in our mastermind session, one that all of you pay for and your employers pay for. And I didn't sleep last night praying. What am I supposed to say? When someone yesterday reaches out to me and says that several members of our community celebrated publicly the death of Charlie Kirk, the murder and assassination of a husband, of a father, of a brother, of a friend, of a person that they never took a moment to seek to understand. They never read one of his books. They never watched an entire speech. How do we know? How do you know? Charlie Kirk strove to love everyone. People accused him of being a transphobe. That couldn't be further from the truth. Have you ever watched his interaction with transgender people when they talk to him? When they would come to his rallies and ask him questions? Have you ever taken a moment to watch his interaction? It is in love. It is in love. Why do we have to bring this up here? More than 100 government employees, public employees in DFW have been fired in the last 2 days. Over 100. 48 teachers in DFW have been fired for publicly celebrating the murder of Charlie Kirk. If you don't believe me, go look it up. I'm not even suggesting you believe me. Everywhere, people are celebrating the death of a father and of a husband and of a leader. And why? Because they disagreed with him. And if you're a member of this community, this is the task. I'm going to spend $100,000 about on this. We're going to spend $100,000. We're going to go through all 400,000 people who follow us, one by one. We are going to look at everyone's social media. 400,000 people. The reason I'm shooting this video, I am asking you to leave this community before we ever find you. That's what I'm asking you to do. Because if we do find you, we are going to publicly humiliate you by name. We are going to call your employer. We are going to call your parents. We are going to call the university you went to school. It's appalling. It's appalling. I didn't want to shoot this. I went back and forth with the team over and over and over again. What is my responsibility here? And Vaughn told me, You just do what's in your heart. So I'm just going to ask you to do two things, then I'm going to tell you why. All right. Number one, I'm going to ask you to seek to understand. Seek to understand people who disagree with you. Number two, I want you to think about this. It is an absolute empirical certainty that every person on this call and everyone watching this video knows someone who celebrated the death of Charlie Kirk. I did the math myself. It's an empirical certainty. Okay. By the way, it's the same formula you use to calculate the R value for passing on a disease from one person to another. I use the exact same formula. In fact, all of you know 1.2 people. Okay. And I used X's API to get the data. All right. You can't stand quietly. You can't. You can't. Here's why. Because what actually happened was that someone killed Charlie for the things he said. If we don't win in the war of ideas, then we devolve to war of guns. And the people left standing will be the ones who kill the most, not the people who craft the best ideas. And that is a fundamental principle that this nation is founded on, that the West is founded on. You cannot stand by and watch people say those things. You can't. You cannot. My mom was murdered when I was 7 years old. February 16th, 1982. My mom got killed by my stepdad. He shot her in the head twice because he was jealous when she laid down to go to sleep, and she was pregnant. He killed my mom, and he killed my little sibling. Me and my brother found her the next morning. I'm the one who pulled the sheet back and looked at her dead face. Her face white, her eyes clouded over and open, and blood coming out of her nose and mouth. It is seared in my brain for life. And because he did that, I was adopted into a family of which I was related to no one. And I grew up with only my half brother. The only blood relative I ever had growing up was my half brother, who was there with me when we found her. I missed my mom every single day. I woke up crying every day for like a year and a half. Every day. That's not hyperbole. Every day. It was Groundhog's Day. It was me waking up, and the first thing I thought was remembering my mom was not there anymore. And I was 7. But I sought to understand. How could he do this? And by the time I was 12, I just woke up one day and I said, if my stepdad ever asked me for forgiveness, I would give it to him. I would never invite him into my life ever again. And I would never forget, but I would forgive. And I only got to that conclusion because I spent years trying to understand. I didn't lean into my rage. Anger is part of mourning. Giving into the anger is not. I do not believe my stepfather was evil, and he killed my mother. And you can only come to that conclusion when you seek to understand. And all the people who are online, including members of our community and we will find you. All of you. Have celebrated the death of a man that every father here would have been proud to call son. And every mother here would have been proud to call son. When you raise children, you pray that your sons grow up to be like Charlie Kirk. Not necessarily believe what he believes, but to be like him. And there are people who celebrated his death. It's appalling. And so we have to ask ourselves, how did we get here? And the answer is because we have failed to do that which makes us great, and it's the seeking of understanding. And so my ask for you, two asks. Number one, if you are a member of this community, one of the 400,000 people who follow us all over the world, and you publicly celebrated the death of Charlie Kirk, leave. Unfollow us, leave. We will find you. And number two, for all of you here and everybody watching this, seek to understand. People who disagree with you, seek to understand. Did I agree with everything Charlie Kirk said? No. I don't agree with everything all of you say. You don't agree with everything that I say. We shouldn't agree on everything. And I'm really sorry we had to have this conversation. I really am. But I thank you for your understanding. I really do. And I really hope that all of us, myself included, take time to really look inward. To really look inward. But rest assured, of this I am confident of. I'm 51 years old. Charlie Kirk's assassination was as big an event as 9/11 was. The aftermath is different, but the event is just as big. This wasn't just some psycho who went up there and killed him. That young man was turned in by his father just an hour and a half ago. And if it was my son who did this, some of my sons are on this call. They know exactly what would have happened. All right. I really appreciate you. What we're going to do is we're going to take a break. Okay. We're going to come back in 10 minutes and we're going to reset and we're going to start our session. And let me just say again, I am really sorry that I had to have that conversation. I'm not talking down to you. I'm talking with you. All right. And I recognize, I don't think the people who did this, I will know their names. I do know one of the people already. And I'm going to talk to them one-on-one, face-to-face. And I'm going to ask them, why did they post that? Why do you think this is okay? Please seek to understand. Seek to understand. All right, we're going to come.